is our first charge. We're driving from Santa Barbara, California to Houston, Texas. We just drove from Santa Barbara to Camarillo here to Electrify America. And we'll see if this charger works. We went about 40 miles. So my strategy on this is, and I've got a Genesis GV70EV. My strategy on this is we've got to go about 220 miles. So we only went 40 miles. And I'm thinking if I can charge here, then we can make it all the way to Palm Desert, California, which is where we're going. And I prefer to charge here because it's just a nicer charging station in Camarillo. And my worry is that as we go through kind of the northern Los Angeles area, the charging stations will be kind of poor. So again, I'm hoping I can charge up enough here. That's right, I'm charging after only 40 miles. I'm hoping I can charge enough up here, maybe to 80% or 85%, and make it 180 something miles to Palm Desert, California, and then charge up there and basically skip all the EA stations in the LA Central area, which have, for me, have kind of proven to be problematic. So we're probably going to charge up here about 85%. I'd like to get about 250 miles of range on the estimator. The reason being, even though we're not going that far, there is a lot of uphill getting to Palm Desert from Camarillo, and so we're gonna chew up a lot of energy going to Palm Desert. But cloudy day. So I've got a 2023 Genesis GV70EV, and let's see how this goes. Again, first charge on our 1,600 mile trip back to Texas. So still here in Camarillo, I'm going to charge to about 85%. The car says I've got 284 miles right now. I've got 180 miles to go, but I've got some big hills. So hopefully charging to 85 will get me to Palm Desert, California from Camarillo, California. But this has been a great charging station. This is really a great location in Camarillo. There's several restaurants very nearby. I would highly recommend coming here, and there's like 9 chargers. I didn't have to wait. And I mean, all the chargers, I mean, it looks like all the chargers are working. So this is like really a good Electrify America charging station. Okay, we're at the Electrify America in Indio, California, at a Walmart Supercenter. We had driven from Camarillo, California, near the coast, all the way here, about 175 miles. My next stop, we're going to stay overnight here in Palm Desert. The next stop is going to be, hard to see that. The next stop is going to be the infamous Quartzsite location. And our strategy there is, that's about 130 miles away. And our strategy is to get up really early tomorrow morning and leave about 4 a.m. and get to Quartzsite hopefully by 6 a.m. Because we can't make it. The reason we have to stop at Quartzsite is we can't make it all the way to Phoenix on a full charge. So we have to stop at Quartzsite. And Quartzsite, looking at plug share, has been problematic every now and then, and there could be long waits there if 1 or 2 of the charges are down. So we're figuring if we get there by 6 a.m. tomorrow morning, we should not have any problem. So we'll see. So I'm going to charge up. It's about 130 miles, but I know there's a lot of uphill. We might hit some headwind in the desert. So I think I'm going to get myself about 210 miles of range to make that 130 miles to Quartzsite tomorrow. And then from Quartzsite we can make it to Phoenix, and we have no problem. There's plenty there. But we used to get here, it was about 180 miles from Camarillo to Indio here, and we have about 70 miles left over. So we used about 210 miles of range to get here. So that's the continuing charging strategy. We're sitting here at 37%. We're probably going to charge up to I'm going to say maybe 70%, and looks like we're getting only 34 kilowatts, so it's very slow. Oh boy. Okay, well, we'll be here for a while then. Well, this charger at the Walmart Supercenter in Indio did not work out well. The highest rate we could get was 34 kilowatts. and I charged for about 30 minutes, and then I unplugged it, plugged it back in, and I was only getting 27 kilowatts. So not a good performance here from a charging point of view. We may have to charge a little more tomorrow morning. We got about 130 miles to go to Quartzsite tomorrow. Right now it says we got about 145 miles of range. I don't think that will be enough, because when we head out of Palm Desert here, we have to go up a big incline for a while. So I think what we're gonna do is just come back here early tomorrow morning, like at 4 a.m., charge enough to get to Quartzsite, and we'll see from there. So I'm back at the EA charger at Walmart in Indio, California. We were here yesterday charging up on that charger and only got 37 kilowatts. Now we're on this charger, charger 1. It looked good yesterday, and it is ramping up really good, so that's good news. We stayed overnight here in the area, so it wasn't really that big of a deal that we couldn't charge there, but we got over here early. It's 4:15 a.m. We're heading towards Phoenix, and we can't make it all the way to Phoenix on 100% charge, so we have to stop somewhere called Quartzsite, Arizona, at an EA charger there. And we do EA chargers because we're on a complimentary plan, so we like to use EA. And the EA charger in Quartzsite, I think it only has 3 or 4 chargers, and sometimes they can be problematic. I've heard people say they've had to wait 5 hours there because there's absolutely nothing else between here, which is Indio, California, and Phoenix, so you got to stop at Quartzsite. So we're going to try to get there really early to avoid any problems or bad chargers or queues of cars or whatever. So, but this is going good here. I was surprised, very happy that it's charging that rate. So our next stop will be Quartzsite, Arizona, and then we'll see where we go from there. So we're in Quartzsite, Arizona, and we got here early. We got here about 6:30 a.m. Bright sun coming up. We got here 6:30 a.m. because I've always heard that Quartzsite can be problematic. It's like the one station everybody needs to stop at between Phoenix and Palm Desert in California for Electrify America. I've heard that if you're here at the wrong time, it could be up to a couple-hour wait. So we got here early. There was only one other car charging, and we're actually getting pretty good charging rate. Actually, we were charging about 230 for a while. I'm not sure how far we're going to go as we continue east, so I'm just going to charge up to 80%, and then as we're driving, I'll probably just figure out you know, how far we can go. We can probably do 150, 170 miles. I tend to be very conservative on driving distance, and I don't ever really want to bring the car down to like 5% because I just get nervous on range then. So, but good charging session. If you come to Quartzsite, Arizona, I really suggest you get here early. It was about 120 miles from Indio to Quartzsite, and I think we used about 150, 160 miles of range. The reason I say that is that when you leave Indio and head east, there's a long uphill climb for about 20 miles, and we were only getting like 1.5 miles per kilowatt hour. But then once we started leveling out on the interstate, it bumped up to an average of 3 miles per kilowatt hour. So good charge here, Quartzsite, Arizona. Good job, Electrify America. But get here early to avoid the crowd. Okay, we are at the EA station in Casa Grande, Arizona, another Walmart. We're in charger 3. It's doing pretty good. It's pulling 216 kilowatts. I tried that charger right there first, and it didn't work. When I looked at PlugShare for this site, it seems like charger 3 was the main one that worked really well. All the other ones were, I think, delivering pretty slow kilowatt rates. But I'm plugged in here. We just arrived here. We're in Quartzsite, Arizona, and when I left there, I had 220 mile range. It was 175 miles here to Casa Grande. I've got about 20 miles left of range. And I think we'll charge up here to, I don't know, maybe 80, 85%. I'm not sure where we're going to stop next. I think kind of the strategy I've been taking is charge to 80-85% and go as far as you can go. But when I'm done here doing the video here, I'll go ahead and kind of take a look at the map and figure out where I want to go. Again, charger free looks like it's doing pretty good. Again, our general philosophy is try not to take the car down to a low percentage state of charge. We pulled in here with about 12 or 13%, which was probably a little lower than what I normally like to do. Normally I like to pull in with about 20% and go from there. But so far, again, this one's pulling good kilowatt rate here. We'll probably be charging here for about 18 minutes if that speed keeps up, and then we'll figure out where we're going. Casa Grande is just I guess east/south of Phoenix. So we made it from Quartzsite, Arizona, all the way here to Casa Grande, and now we're charging up. All right, we're in where are we? We are in Benson, Arizona at, yep, you guessed it, a Walmart. We're charging here, charger 04, which is pulling some pretty good juice, 225, 226. So I got a choice. We could go, we're continuing driving east on Interstate 10. We could go to Lordsburg, New Mexico, which is about 112 miles, or we could go to Deming, New Mexico, which is about 170 miles. I'm going to try charging up here and see if we can make it to Deming. We've got a lot of wind, and we're running the air conditioner. And when I charge up to 230 miles estimated range, in reality I'm probably getting about 190 to 200 miles. So I really got to take my range estimator with guess. But so my strategy here is probably charge to 80 or 85% and see if I can make the 170 miles past Deming. And we'll see what, actually to Deming, going past Lordsburg. If we get going on I-10 and it looks like we're really chewing up the miles on the range, then I will probably go ahead and stop in Lordsburg and charge there, even though it's only about 115 miles away. But again, it's been very windy, and the wind really has had an effect, especially obviously when it was a headwind. It really did have an effect, so plan for that. So that's the strategy right now, is to see if, as we continue going on I-10 east, is to see if we can get enough juice to make it to Deming, 170 something miles away, or we may have to stop at Lordsburg and charge there. And I know once I get past Lordsburg or Deming, I can charge in, I believe, El Paso. So either way, I'll be able to get to El Paso from either one of those locations. That's kind of the strategy on this stop. Okay, we're in Deming, New Mexico at Electrify America and at a Walmart. Prior to here, we were in Benson, Arizona at an Electrify America. We went, I think, about 160 miles. And so the charge up strategy now is we're trying to get to Van Horn, Texas today, but that's 220 miles away. So we can't make that. Even if I charge to 100%, I'm not going to make it 220 miles. So we're going to charge it up just enough to get to El Paso, which is about 110 miles. And I think I'm going to charge it to about maybe 180 miles of range, just to have a little extra in case there's a headwind, or or if we hit any hills or whatever. And then when we get to El Paso, we'll charge up just enough to get to Van Horn, Texas, which is where we're gonna stay for the night. But I've typically been charging anywhere from 70 to 85%. When I stop, I typically have anywhere from 30 to 60 miles left of range, but the 30 to 60 miles probably is in reality 22 to 50 miles of range, given how the car kind of overestimates range. But this one's charging really well. Looks like it's kicking in at 174 kilowatts. And like I said, I'll probably charge to about 60%, and we'll go from there. So so far, some good experiences with Electrify America on I-10. hopefully it'll continue. Okay, so we made it to El Paso, Texas. We're at Electrify America at a Walmart again. And we got here from Deming, New Mexico. It's about 110 miles. Pulling good. I'm on a 150, but it's pulling pretty good. 174 right now. There's 3 other cars here. My plan is we're trying to make it to Van Horn, which I think is about 120 miles away. So I'll probably charge to about 190 miles. Go to Van Horn. There's a EA charger in Van Horn. There's also a hotel we like to stay at there, and we may just call it a night there. Also, one thing I didn't mention is usually when I'm kind of just out on the open highway, I'm getting, when it's flat and maybe no strong headwind, I'm getting about 3 to 3.1 miles per kilowatt hour. When there's a lot of hills, I'm getting probably 2.4 miles, 2.5 miles per kilowatt hour. And I think a strong headwind, which we have experienced today, probably drops me down maybe 0.4 of a mile per kilowatt hour. So it does impact. But so far, the charging's gone well today. And I'm typically charging enough to go anywhere from 120. I think I pushed at one time to 185 miles in one time. But this car will not do more than probably 205 miles on the highway. The other thing too is we're typically doing 65 miles an hour, even though the speed limit's 70 or 75. We don't necessarily do the speed limit all the time. We're typically doing 65 in the slow lane. So we're usually getting pretty decent miles per kilowatt hour. So this should be our second to last charge. I think we're going to get, like I said, get to Van Horn, which is about 120 miles away, and stay overnight there. Okay, I'm sitting here in Van Horn, Texas. It's late, about 10:40 p.m. We drove here from El Paso. It was about 110 miles. I couldn't, and we're actually going to stay here overnight. We're actually not at a Walmart. We're at Days Inn here. And it looks like this particular charger, somebody's using the 350 charger, is doing okay. Hopefully it'll get to where I need. But my plan tomorrow morning when we leave is there's a charger in Ozana, Texas, but that's 221 miles away, and I can't make it that far. And so the one closest to us is in Fort Stockton, Texas, about 110 miles. So I'm going to charge up enough here so that I've probably got about 160 miles tomorrow to make it to Fort Stockton, charge up there. Again, I'm getting about 3.1 miles per kilowatt hour. So my strategy here really is just, charge up enough. I don't need to charge to 100% or 80% or whatever. I'm probably going to charge to maybe 70% here, just enough to get us the 110 miles to Fort Stockton tomorrow morning. And that's kind of the strategy I use, is I don't overcharge. I basically charge up to the miles that I need, leaving a buffer. My car, this Genesis GV70EV, really overestimates the range. And so, for example, if I got to go 120 miles, I like to charge to about 180 or 190 miles. That leaves me probably 40 miles buffer if we hit headwinds, or if I end up going up hills, or with the AC on, then I've got enough buffer there to make it, say 110, 120 miles, if I go ahead and charge it to about 190 or whatever. So this is the last charge tonight. Tomorrow morning, our final leg to Houston, Texas. So we're sitting here at Fort Stockton, Texas. We, guess what, at a Walmart. Charging up, getting a good charge rate here. We just got here this morning from Van Horn, Texas, where we stayed overnight. That was about 110, 112 miles. And I had about 90 miles left of range, which means I probably overcharged a little bit too much in in Van Horn. So now, though, we're heading east, continue to head east on I-10. The next stop, I'm debating here. Ozana is about 103 miles away, the next one after that, gosh, I forgot what it was, is about 200. Junction, Texas is about 201 miles. You know, if I probably charged to 95%, I could make the 201. Or if I charged to say 70%, I could make the 101. I'm debating here whether to charge up to 92% and try to go for the 201, or just charge up to 70%, maybe go for the 103 miles. I think I'm just going to go for the 103 miles, because at the end of the day, it's probably not going to, I don't know whether it's going to actually allow me to skip a stop somewhere or not. But we don't have really a headwind. It's cool out, so we haven't been running the AC, and so we're getting pretty good, and it's pretty flat. This part of Texas is pretty flat, so we've been getting really good, about 3.2 miles per kilowatt. Again, I'm doing about 65 miles an hour. So I'm kind of debating here whether I want to really charge it high and make it all the way to Junction, Texas, 201 miles, or maybe charge it to 70% and just go to Ozana, Texas, about 103 miles. Again, I think I'm going to do the 103. I'm just not into charging the battery super high unless I really have to, and we're in no super hurry. So I think we're going to go for the 103 mile journey to Ozana, Texas, and then continue from there. Okay, so we're in Ozana, Texas, at the Hampton Inn at Electrify America here. Charger 3 looks like it's firing up at about 158. We had just left Junction. It was about 120 miles going east on I-10. The 120 miles used about 150 miles of range. I charged to basically 180 miles. I had about 39. I had about 39 miles of range remaining. So we hit a lot of headwinds, and it got hilly along the way, and so it ended up using, like I said, probably used about 140 miles of the 180 miles, which left me with about 40 miles of range. We did not run the AC, and I was traveling about 65 miles an hour. And that's why I like to charge a little extra. You never know, right? You never know if you're going to hit some headwind, if it's going to be a little hilly. And in this case, we hit both. But arriving with 18% battery and 37 miles left was pretty good. I think that's kind of spot on. So going from here, our next choice is to stop in San Antonio, Texas, which is about 202 miles. I can't make that. That's too far. And that's the problem with this car. If I had something different, if I road trip a lot, I would definitely want a different car, because I'd love to get a car that would comfortably give me 250 miles of range on the highway. And this car doesn't do that. This car gives me about 200 miles, 205 miles on the highway. So we're going to stop at our next stop. It's only about 100 miles. I can't remember what stop it is. It's about 100 miles away. So I'm only going to charge up here to maybe, again, it's windy. It's starting to warm up a little bit. So I'll probably charge to maybe 160 miles, even though I only need to go 100 miles. That way I can deal with the headwind. I can deal with the hills that are coming up, and we can turn the AC on if it gets a little bit warmer, and then we can have plenty of electricity to make it 100 miles. Again, if I had a car that had more range on it on the highway, we only drive this car maybe 1 or 2% of the time on the highway, so that never really bothers us. 98% of the time we're just driving this around town, and we charge at our level 2 charger at home, so its range is not an issue at all. And it really isn't an issue here. It's just that it means we have to make maybe 1 or 2 extra stops as we're traveling along. So probably going to charge up to about 180 miles that will comfortably get me 100 miles of range, and then like I said, we can't go to San Antonio. That's 201 miles, and that's just too far. I can't get enough charge in the car. So we'll make the stop 100 miles from now, charge up, and then may even skip over San Antonio. Then we'll see. But that's our thinking on charging in Ozana, Texas. So this is interesting. I'm in my Genesis GV70EV, and I've got the latest software update, and I added in a destination, basically Houston, Texas, and I don't have enough charge to make it all the way to Houston. And so you can see the software added 2 waypoints to have me charge along the way to make it to Houston. And I believe, because I have filtering on both of those waypoints, are Electrify America. So we'll keep driving here and see if this works the way it should. If it does, it may make some route planning a little bit simpler. Okay, we're in Junction, Texas, charging up. We had just come from Ozana, Texas. It was only about 100 miles, but I had to do that. If you remember, I had to do that because I couldn't make it all the way to San Antonio. So we did 100 miles here, charging up now. I've got to get about 200 miles. I'm going to go from here, Junction, Texas, to Seguin, Texas, which is about 149 miles, and to have some buffer, I'd like to have about 50 to 60 miles buffer, so I'm looking at probably 200 to 210 miles charge. I did something different this time. The Genesis GV70EV just had a software update a few weeks ago, and the first time I've used it on this trip, I tried to do the route planner. So I actually just simply typed in our address in Houston, and it said, hey, you don't have enough electric to get there, and it set up waypoints along the way at Electrify America charging stations for me to charge. Well, that's pretty cool. So it actually identified this EA station in Junction, Texas, and it identified the one in Seguin, Texas, and then that should be the last one. We should be able to make it home from there. But there's a beautiful view. It sits up on the hill here. There's nothing here. It's just an Econo Lodge hotel and absolutely nothing else, but really a beautiful view down to the river down there. Really pretty up here. So, like I said, the strategy on this one is to probably charge to about 80%, 85% to get myself 210 miles of range, and that should give me enough buffer to do the 149 miles to Seguin, Texas. We're getting out of the Texas Hill Country, so I think it's going to be flatter, which means we'll get a little bit better mileage. But we are running the air conditioner, and that chews up a little bit of mileage. I think having an extra 50 miles above and beyond the estimated range of 149 miles will be good. But I'm trying this route planner for the first time, and I haven't used it the whole trip. I just decided to try it right now, and we'll see how it goes. I've only got this stop and one more stop, and then I'm home. But let's see if it works okay. As I'm sitting here in Junction, Texas, continuing my charge, I thought I would mention I'm up to 79%. I thought I would mention one of the things I do. I don't know if others do it or not, but it seems like even though it's not really that hot out, it's about 82 degrees. The fan kicks on this Genesis quite a bit, and when I put my hand right here, I feel quite a bit of warm air, not hot air, but warm air coming out. And my thought is, just raising the hood probably just helps some of that heat escape. So I've kind of got in the regular habit when I charge of raising the hood so that when the car fan kicks on to cool, that hopefully it disperses the heat a lot faster and quicker and better. And by the way, when I first plugged in, I was getting about 234 kilowatts, but I just noticed now I'm at 80%, and look what it dropped down to, 8 kilowatts, which is super slow. So I may not be standing here much longer given that it dropped down to 8 kilowatts. I'm wondering if it did that because maybe the car's saying I'm hot, slow the charging rate down, and therefore it's really slowed the charging quite a bit. But I think I can get where I need to go pretty comfortably with 80% with about a probably 40 mile buffer. So I think we're good to go. It had dropped down to 7 kilowatts here. I'm at 80%. I really would like to get to 84. So I shut it off. I turned the charging off, and I'm going to just unplug and reinitiate and see if I can get just a few more percentage points on my SoC, kind of replugging it back in. So let's see what happens here. Okay, so I unplugged the charger. It was getting only 7 kilowatts. I'm at 81%. I really would like to get to 84%. Looks like it's getting 154 kilowatts. So unplugging and replugging in seemed to have helped. And I initially had used that handle and I switched over to this handle. Maybe that one's a little warm, I don't know. So I'm up to 82%, 155 kilowatts. That's good. Plus, I don't know, maybe the car was getting warm. Maybe the car was sending the charger a request to slow down the charging rate. So I'm not sure exactly why I was getting 7 kilowatts. It could have been the charger, it could have been the car, I don't know. But I'm up to 157 kilowatts at 83%. If I get to 84, 85%, I'm fine. Okay, I'm in Seguin, Texas, right next to La Quinta. Right here, La Quinta, there's the pool. And charging up on Charger 3, Electrify America. And getting a good starting rate. And the reason I use Electrify America, I've got 3 years of some level of complimentary charging on EA, so I try to use EA as much as possible since we're not charged any additional fee for the electricity, as long as I do it in 30 minutes. So we have about 150 miles to go until we get to the Houston area, which is where we live. So I'm going to charge up. I think I'm going to get about 190 miles, between 190 and 200 on the car, and that should give me plenty of range to get home. 190, 200, probably be about between 75 and 80%. But I will say, since this is my last charge for our trip from California to Houston, I will say that Electrify America has actually done really well. They really have I-10 west of Houston all the way to California covered really well. I've not driven I-10 east of Houston in my EV, so I'm not sure about that, but we had absolutely no problem going 1,600 miles from Houston to California using Electrify America all the way. So very, very happy with that. So here's our last charge. Hopefully it'll go smooth. And again, you guys probably understand my strategy really has been to charge just enough to get to the next charger. And given the small range of this vehicle, about 200 miles on the highway, I really couldn't skip too many charging stations, because skipping a charging station would put me beyond the range of the vehicle if I charged to 100%. So the net result of that is I had to hit almost every single one, which put me around 120 to 150 miles, and which put me typically in the range of charging from 70 to 90%. Now, rarely, in fact, I never charged to 100% on this trip. Thank you. Bye. This is an interesting charging station here. I've seen this before, but not very often. It actually shows what the car is requesting, and it shows what the charger is providing. A few minutes ago, it was requesting like, oh gosh, maybe about 240, and I was getting 242 from the charger. So now it's requesting 191, and it's getting 195, and you can hear the fans running for sure, trying to keep the battery and everything